interesting and very practical. You see, now for many companies that have assets, non-current assets that are used in their operations, one of the important things to appreciate is that as an asset is used over time, the cost of maintaining that asset continually increases. So as an asset gets older and older, the cost of that asset continually increases. And then the scrap value, the realizable value from the sale of that asset continually diminishes. Now, the idea is simple. If you want to buy a new asset every single time, then the cost of a new asset would, of course, outweigh the cost of an old asset. And then with inflation and other things, the costs of assets generally go up. However, there are times when using an asset that is old, new asset, because the maintenance costs continually rise, continually climb up. So the concept of asset replacement is to use the understanding of time value of money to try to estimate how long an asset should be used by a company before the asset is replaced. So that's the concept of asset replacement. So we'll see that, for example, I remember growing up that you'll see people that say they bought cars from banks, and that banks generally auction their cars, commercial banks, after maybe a few years. And you look at the car, and the car is still relatively in good working condition, and they will say the bank has sold the cars. And I was wondering why. Now, some of the reasons for this are because of the concept of asset replacement, which is they are trying to maximize the scrap value that they will get from the asset, while also trying to minimize the cost of maintenance that will be incurred as an asset continues getting older. So I have someone that is very close to me that will say, I've been using my car for 20 years. But when you're using your car for 20 years and by year 10, the car is sleeping in the mechanic more than it's staying packed in your house, or when you wake up, you first pray for like 45 minutes, and out of that 45 minutes, like 40 minutes is praying that the car should not have flat tire or should start or battery should not run down, then I don't know that that is something to be proud about. So the concept is to allow a company to maximize its ability, by deciding at the appropriate time that will maximize the value of this asset in terms of its return to you, or in terms of its capacity to the company, and to appreciate that. What are the things that I will consider? Of course, there are three main things to consider now: the cost of buying a new asset, the cost of maintaining the old asset, and the amount that will be received for selling that old asset. And those are the things that you try to strike a balance with asset replacement. So basically what we'll do in asset replacement is to consider, and we'll look at a simple example. For in practical terms, it will be much more robust than this in many cases. So for assets with maybe economic useful lives of say 5 years, for example, we want to say, should we sell the asset after 1 year? Should we sell the asset after 3 years, and so on and so forth? So those are the decisions, those are the considerations we'll make. So we'll see that maybe for a generator, for example, you might want to sell a generator after 2 years or 3 years, while for a car, you might want to sell the car after 5 years. And then for maybe some other more complex bespoke machinery, you might maybe want to sell it after 10 years and so on. So this will be for specific classes of assets. But this is what companies, especially companies that have operations in different jurisdictions where monitoring might be expensive, to have an organizational policy that says, we sell our cars in this company after 4 years. We sell our plants in this company after 3 years. And in being able to compute in being able to appreciate asset replacement as a financial management concept, we're able to decide for the company as a whole how many years, what we call a replacement cycle. So if a replacement cycle is after 1 year, then the 1 year period is what we'll consider. If our replacement cycle is after 2 years, then the 2-year cycle is what we will consider, and so on and so forth. So what we will do here is the formula for asset replacement will be given, and then we'll use that. Maybe use an example. I tried to see whether I could get a revision kit, and I'm not sure. I don't think there are maybe we'll do 1 year and then look at one from the revision kit, but look at something that is very detailed in sense of computing asset replacement. So it's just the formula for us to be able to understand how the formula works.
Are you there?
Yes, she said, are you recording?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
All right. Okay. Okay, so let's write something down before we start working on it. It considers the time period an organization would use an asset for before the asset is replaced to ensure that value is maximized over the specific time period chosen. An asset.
Right.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you correct the fourth statement? You said asset replacement considers the time period that an organization, you said an organization.
That's okay. Okay, thank you. So an asset's maintenance cost will generally rise with age, and the realizable value from disposal
Sorry, and the same statement sentence, remove 4. An organization will use an asset before the asset is replaced to ensure. You said would use an asset for before.
Would use an asset for before the asset is replaced.
So you remove the 4. Would use an asset before the asset is replaced. Yeah. No, you still left the 4. Okay.
The consideration in asset replacement. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I'm just joining the class. I don't know how far you have gone.
Well, we just discussed asset replacement, so we're looking at it.
Okay. Is it another topic or is part of sensitivity
It's still
and
part of investment appraisal. No, it's not part of, it's still part of investment appraisal, but it's a separate topic from sensitivity analysis. So the consideration in asset replacement is how long to use an asset before it is replaced. So new maintenance cost of the old asset, and 3, the realizable value of the old asset. So we call replacement cycles
Sorry, Brian.
Yes.
Can you put realizable value fall as the asset gets older? An asset maintenance cost will generally rise with age, and the realizable value falls as the asset gets older. Is it right like that?
Okay. So replacement cycle is the number of years
Realizable value for, what does that mean?
The scrap value.
fall. As in that the amount you can realize from selling the asset will fall as it gets older. So replacement cycle is the number of years being considered before the asset is replaced. So to compute out what is known as the equivalent annual cost or equivalent annual benefit so the equivalent annual cost, okay, let me say this so that it just helps us. So the equivalent annual cost is used where, which is what is mostly expected, that's why it's a more popular one, where the cost, where the total cost is higher than the total realizable amount and let me just emphasize that by saying which is the normal situation. So you generally expect that the total cost that you will incur in an asset, we're not talking about what the asset will give you as value. Of course, there will be value derived from the asset. That's not what we're looking at. We're saying that generally, if we're looking at the cost of maintaining an asset and buying the asset will be higher than the cost that you will get from selling that asset. That's the normal situation. So it will usually be an equivalent annual cost rather than an equivalent benefit. So if the benefit is higher than the cost, we'll call it equivalent. So they are the same thing. So once we do one, we've done the other one. We don't need to consider the other one. Do you get the point?
Your line was breaking.
Your line is breaking.
Okay, so
Your
I
line
said
is
that
breaking.
Your line was breaking. It was saying like you are recording this in slow motion in film.
hey God. If I talk now, they will say I've talked to.
I did not say anything. I just said it simple, just one sentence.
That's what I'm saying, that if me too, I say one sentence now, they will complain that me too have talked. So I've kept quiet. Okay, so I was saying that if the cost is higher than the benefit, we'll call it equivalent annual cost. But if the benefit is higher than the cost, we'll call it equivalent annual benefit. That they are. Okay, so if there's anything to put, I'll put it as we go on. So our equivalent annual cost. Can you hear me?
I think it's better you type it down because the voice is breaking.
That shows that part will come out in the exam because the village people in your village does not want us to hear that part you're saying.
I'm finished. Oh God. Okay, so equivalent annual cost is equal to the present value of cash flows over one replacement cycle divided by we'll just call it the annuity factor.
Mr. Brown, should we put that the equivalent annual benefit, right?
So you said
Where the equivalent annual benefit is used, where the total realizable value is higher than the total cost.
yes, we can put that. We can put that.
Was that what you're trying to tell us?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to say. My baby. It. Just take it like this. Take it. Put. Okay, so let's go. So I want to do an example now. So I'm looking at an example. So what we'll do is to let me explain. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what we want to do now with equivalent annual cost, what we'll do is to say, should we sell this asset after 1 year, or should we sell the asset after 2 years, or should we sell the asset after 3 years, and so on and so forth. Now the consideration will have to be that which of them. So in terms of cost, as always, we saw this slightly with sensitivity analysis. Every single time you want to minimize the cost. So we are going to ultimately, if you think about it, we want to minimize our costs. So we are going to consider a 1-year replacement cycle, a 2-year replacement cycle, a 3-year replacement cycle. Maybe we'll just go up to 4 years. So we'll give ourselves a very practical example, a very detailed example of how to go about calculating an equivalent annual cost. So a company purchases an asset for, say, $50,000.
Sorry, Brian.
Yes.
That's equivalent annual cost. He said it's where it's used where the total asset is higher than the total realizable value. Is it the total of the new assets or the total of the old asset?
Where the what? You were breaking. I didn't hear you.
Okay, I said based on the statement, is it the cost of the new assets that is higher than the realizable amount, or the cost of the same old assets?
All the costs that will be incurred on that old asset versus the realizable amount to decide whether it's an equivalent. So the idea is, if the cost is higher than what you will sell it for, then it will be an equivalent annual cost. And if it is the opposite, then it will be an equivalent annual benefit.
Okay, we are not considering the cost of the new a replacement as in the cost of a new asset.
No, no. We're actually standing from today and saying, should we sell it in 1 year? Should we sell it in 2 years? Should we sell it in 3 years? We're assuming, of course, in most cases. Okay, so we'll look at that. We'll look at that.
Okay, I just want to understand. All right.
Okay, so we have this information.
Hello, Mr. Brian.
Yes.
Is a scrap value same as resale
Yes.
value?
The amount.
Or
Yes. Realizable
value?
value. No, realizable. How much you can sell it for? Not how much you will buy another one. How much you can sell that asset for?
Okay, sell it for. So
Yes.
that's also scrap value.
That's scrap value.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so we have about 40 seconds. So all we're doing is looking at the question. So a company purchases an asset for 50,000. The following information is available over 4 years. So they've given us for 4 years now. Maintenance cost, we see maintenance cost is rising over time for that asset. And then the scrap value, we see that the scrap value is falling too over time. So the amount we could get realized from selling the asset is falling over time. And then on it. Question to walk through what our asset replacement, the concept behind asset replacement. So we start this, it's quite straightforward, and the information, the relevant information is usually very, very short. There's not very much to say. So we just start now. We say, so our solution,
Mr. Brian, I didn't get the whole question before it went off the video.
The question is here.
Yeah.
It's here. It's on this part now. It's still on the Excel. It's the same. I just cut the question and pasted it here.
Okay.
Okay, so solution now. So we'll say if one year replacement cycle we can remember that we've said that our formula for calculating, so we'll use using equivalent annual cost method. That's the so using equivalent method. So our equivalent annual cost will be equal to we said it is the present value of cash flows over 1 what?
One replacement cycle.
So 1 replacement cycle divided by the annuity factor. So this annuity factor, you see that in some books will be referred to as your equivalent annual rate over the cycle, over the replacement cycle. So first of all, if we're using one replacement cycle, then our cash flows now. So the cash flows, if we're using 1 year as our replacement cycle, then our cash flows will have what and what? So we'll have purchase cost. So if we're using a 1 year replacement cycle, we'll have purchase cost and our purchase cost will be
$50,000.
50,000. Then we'll have maintenance.
3,000.
So that one too is a cost, so it will be added. And then we'll have scrap. Now we can use logic for this. Either we leave all of them, all the costs in negative, and I think that would unduly stress us. If we leave all the costs in negative, then it will stress us. Or the other way to look at it is we can say that the scrap value is reducing our cost. Since we are looking at it in terms of cost, we can use it can now be that the scrap value is what we regard as negative. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Okay, I've done something. So instead I should have referred to that as year. So we'll have year 0, think about it, and year 1. So we'll have year 0 and year 1. So our maintenance cost should not be in year 0. Our purchase cost is what we'll incur our purchase cost immediately. Do you get that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say no?
You said yes.
No, it wasn't you. It wasn't. I heard your yes. Okay, so if you have a question, ask. If not, so our scrap now. Our scrap will be in what year?
The scrap
At the end
will
of
be
the 4 years.
it's year 2.
No, but see now, we said
Okay, in the 1 year. So in the same year.
In that year now.
year 1 we'll get 24,000. So in the first year.
Yeah.
So it will be 24,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that 24,000. So that's all we need for year 1. So in this case now, it means that our net cash flow and net cash flows. Okay, so I don't know what you want. Which one pays you more? Which one are you more comfortable with? We can use negative for the cost and positive for the scrap. And so we'll have an all-round negative figure. We'll have to ultimately ignore the negative sign, or we can use positive for the cost and then negative for the scrap so that we don't have to start switching signs later. It depends on you. I don't send any of them. All of them are the same thing. So which one do you prefer?
We've always been using negative for our initial outlay.
So we can use that as negative, right?
Mm.
Okay, so that's fine. A maintenance cost too is negative, right? Okay. All right, so that's that. So our net cash flows now. So our net cash flows for year one will be equal to, so we can just drag, we can say sum, so that we'll start doing, we'll work well, like how we've always worked. And then we can drag it to the other one. So that's our net cash flow, right? So that's our net cash flow. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing we'll look at now is to get our discount rate, our discount factor, so that we can get our present value. Remember we said it was present value over one replacement cycle. So we'll discount these cash flows. Is this fine?
That means using annuity factor.
Yes, no, first of all, we'll get the present value. Is the present value divided by the annuity factor? Is the present value divided by the annuity factor? So we'll first get the present value of the cash flows. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
So discount factor at 10%. So for the first time, I think it will be easier for us to just write it out. There's no need to calculate what you know.
But Mr. Brand, in an exam scenario, we should show our working, is it not? In an exam scenario.
Show you're working for what?
No, for the discount factor. Or we should just
for the discount factor. For the discount factor.
Yeah, in an exam,
please.
Scenario.
Okay, what we've been doing in class has been, we're just showing ourselves really in that sense, because discount factor, your formula tables are given to you in the exam.
Okay.
Actually have the formula. Since you calculated it before, is that maybe for 4 years at 11% or 12%, it's actually faster to just put in one formula and drag it than to start typing in or looking at formula and then transferring it in. But if you just transferred it in, you're still absolutely right. There's no, it's just a redundant thing to pick the Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Brian, your village people, they worry well. Your network is really bad. Maybe you should tell Juju to break for you. He's breaking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can
hear you now.
Okay, all right. So we just get our present values now. So we'll get our present value. Our present value now will be equal to the net cash flow multiplied by the discount rate. We can do it for both of them. Then we can get our so please, I'll come back upstairs. I hope you can hear me here now because it's important. I'll come back upstairs, and this should be the summation of our present values. So we can go and insert. Please, can you hear me? Because I need you to hear me on this one.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we'll put summation. It will be useful to put summation. Okay, don't worry, I'm not doing anything. I'm just waiting for it. Battles in Nigeria.
Brian, people are eating in class, so.
Yes, so that's the level.
Mr. Richard, give Shafit.
Some people are fasting.
You are reporting
They
yourself
are
first.
fasting,
You are
Oh,
reporting
God.
yourself.
We're seeing them, we're seeing them. When they are breaking fast now, they will go and stay there. Like if they did not eat throughout.
Mr. Richard, hey, let this break be over. It's me and you.
I don't know what's happening to my system. My system has hung.
I told you, your village wishes now want to make you learn something. I said that you should go and as you have not had peace, maybe Juju will help you. She's quiet though. I've not heard. Is she in class?
Who's that?
Uju.
I'm in
Oh,
class.
Juice here now.
Uju, are you in this class?
I'm in class. So.
Maybe you are eating. That's why you're quiet. You're supposed to be fasting.
Abby, I'll join them.
This fasting.
Because you're exceptionally quiet, exceptionally very quiet.
I don't know what to say now, so I'm just listening and watching.
Okay, so I put the summation sign, right?
Okay.
So we can say that our summation so the summation of cash flows now will be equal to the two of them together. So this figure plus that figure. So that's our summation of cash flows. So this will imply, please, is everybody here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this implies now that our equivalent annual cost, which is equal to summation of PVs divided by the annuity factor Okay, so before we do that, maybe we should just, what's our annuity factor for year one?
0.909.
No, annuity for year one. Okay, yeah. So you can check your annuity table. We'll still give you the same 0.909. So this implies that the equivalent annual cost will be equal to the summation of cash flows divided by the annuity factor. So that will be equal to that figure divided by our annuity factor. So that's our answer. Is this fine? Is this fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, that means Brian.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, after using the discounting factor of present value on the amount on the cash, the scrap value, you get the present value. Then you subtract the present value from the initial outlay. So whatever you have it again now, you still use the annuity factor of that cost of the capital, 10% on it.
Yes.
Okay.
So what we've said is you're adding all your cash flows. This one you said subtract. So we're adding basically. So we're just using all our cash flows. Whatever the cash flows are, that's what we are. So when we do for other years, you will see how it will come out beautifully. So let's do year two now, right? So I want to put my year two close to my year one. So the year two will be slightly more complicated than year one. So if 2-year replacement cycle, if we have a 2-year replacement cycle, so we'll start the same way we did the other one. So we'll have year, then we'll have purchase cost, we'll have maintenance cost, we'll have our scrap, we would have our net cash flows, would have our discount factor, Okay, so let me just do something to make our lives easy. To make our lives easy, I'll just copy this thing and go and put it for year 3 and year 4. So I'll copy. It's exactly the same thing we'll use for year 3 and year 4. So let me go and put year 3 and year 4. So I'll say this one is if 4 year. And the one before it, if 3 year. Are you with me?
Friend has vanished.
The network is
All of them are down so that it will be easier for me when I'm coming down. So now let's do the hard work together. This should take us very much time. Once you understand the logic, you just make a few mistakes and then you'll be good. Okay, so if we have a 1 year replacement cycle, or if we're looking at 3 years, if we're looking at 2 years, we'll start with year 0, then we'll have year 1, then we'll have year 2. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have year 0, year 1, and year 2. So what will be our purchase cost?
50,000.
So 50,000. Please, Mr. Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, very loud and clear. Yes, 50,000.
Okay. Okay, so 50,000.
Is Madam Hafsat? I'm not sure if he's around.
And she went out and she came back. I
Yeah, I'm here, sir.
Okay.
think she's okay. So then our maintenance cost will be how much? This is the most important part of this class now.
There's maintenance cost.
What's
for
our
the first
maintenance
year.
cost?
There's one for the first year and there's another for the
7,000.
second year. Because they're going to incur
So you
them.
add that's 10,000.
Exactly. So you get the idea. No, it's separate. It's not
It's separate. It's going to be, however.
And that's total
10,000.
10,000 and 3 and 7.
Sorry.
So you add year 1 maintenance cost to it, right?
In year 1 is
Is that how you came about your 10,000?
separate, treated on its own merit. So 3,000 in year 1. 3,000 in year 1. No, they are not together. Please follow me. Just follow me.
Okay. How did you get 10,000?
So, right? How did we get what? How did we get what?
10,000. 10,000 maintenance costs.
There's no 10. It's 3,000 and 7,000. There's no 10,000.
Yeah, I thought I had Madam Jeff.
Now I was saying that means the total cost that will be incurred for the second year now will be the first year 3,000, the second year 7,000.
Okay. I didn't know those.
And the first year you first incur because you are not selling it to the first year now.
Yeah, but we can never add them together, sir.
But just you know that is total maintenance cost is 10,000. Yeah.
Yeah, but of course the total maintenance cost is 3,000 and 7,000 because of time value of money. They don't have any relation. You get that part, Abi?
Sell network now. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. No. Cost to be 3,000 and 7,000. So what's our scrap value? What are our scrap values?
18,000.
And what?
18,000, right? Just one
That's
scrap.
18,000.
You cannot have two
Just
scrap values.
18,000. You can't have two scrap value. It will be only 18,000.
So you don't want to fall inside
You're trying to.
my trap at all?
No, you will fall inside
ACCA
your own.
I said trap and nobody entered.
It's ACCA.
Nah, lie.
Trick question.
Now you go fall into your trap.
No, we can't have two scrap. We'll have only one scrap. Why didn't this thing move to the end? So that's very, very impressive. Is everybody clear about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Brian,
Okay.
I can't see your screen.
Okay, I'm showing my screen. My screen is showing. Is it not showing for you?
Your screen. It's not showing now.
It's not showing.
Okay, to come back up is network.
What?
Okay, so maybe when this session expires, once this one goes off, because this is really wasting time, I'll check it so that it will be back to normal. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, is my screen showing now?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can now do our net cash flows. So our net cash flows.
But Brian, scrap cannot be negative too.
Okay, sorry. I'm just looking for, I'm trying to set trap.
If gratitude was going to talk, right?
Richard, you have changed my name to gratitude. Yeah.
So we can now sum for all the here. And we can drag it, if you can hear me. If you can hear me.
We can. Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So all we just do is our discount factor. So our discount factor year 1, year 0 is okay. So we have our present values. So the discount rate multiplied by the net cash flow gives us our present values. So with that, we can now come and say what's the summation. The summation of our cash flows will be equal to the sum of all of them. So that's our summation. However, now herein comes a very important part, and that's why I wanted us to be on a stable network. Now we're going to look at our annuity factor for 2 years. It's not what we consider, unlike the first one. So we're going to have to do our annuity factor for 2 years. So what's our annuity factor for 2 years?
1.736.
10%. For 2 years.
1.736.
1.732, right?
6.
No, it's 1.732.
From the table here is 1.736.
1.736.
Yes,
Okay.
And from the table.
Okay, so 1.736. So
yes,
we can now come and say so from that we can say that this implies that the equivalent annual cost will be equal to the summation of cash flows divided by the annuity factors. So we do the same thing. So we come down. So it's equal to the summation of cash flow divided by that, and we have that figure. So that's our equivalent annual cost for a 2 year. So for 2 years, that's our equivalent annual cost. Is this fine? Is it fine?
yes.
Okay, so let's rush through now for year 3.
Yeah, Brian.
Yes.
My question is, what is the essence of dividing the annuity factor over this thing?
So see the idea. See the idea here. See the idea. Huh? Let me show you what I mean. Now the idea is what we should have done. If we think about it, this is something I should have done with the explanation. So if you think about it, let me just write it here so that we can see I'm talking. So if I say, for example, that it will take me $100. I need $100 to survive for 1 year, right? How much would I need to survive for 2 years?
That's 200, another 100.
So it should be 200. So it should be 100 times 2, right?
2, yeah.
So if I know that it takes me $100 and $200 to survive for 2 years, then I expect that it should take me $100 to survive for 1 year. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Now, so what we are doing now with the annuity factor is really what we are doing is this. If you look up for the year 1, for the 1 year replacement cycle, really what we are doing is dividing the cash flows by 1 for the 2-year annuity, for the 2-year replacement cycle, we're dividing it by 2. But 1 in value terms is 0.909. 2 in present value terms is not exactly up to 2 because of present value. So we are reducing it. It is actually 1.737. So really for every year, we are going to divide them by the number of the year. But the number of the year in present value terms is not exactly that number. That is why really what we are doing is dividing year 1 by 1, dividing year 2 by 2, dividing year 3 by 3. But what is 3 in present value terms based on the discount rate? That's why we are using the annuity factor, because we are considering time value of money. Do you get the point I'm making?
Yes.
But your yes is not very strong.
And so that's because we're using 10% as annuity factor, right?
That's why we're getting. So if we're using, the funny
Like
thing is, if you're
50%.
using 0%, if you are using 0%,
exactly
that's
the same
awkward
thing.
one. It will be exactly divided by 1, divided by 2, divided by 3, divided by 4. That will be your annuity factor. So what we are saying is, you want to compare apples with apples. So to bring that into what it would be in 1 year, if we are looking at it in 1 year, we are dividing like year 2 now, divided by 2, so that we'll see what it will be in 1 year. But 2 in present value terms is not, like, it's not number 2. It is 1.736 at a discount rate of 10%. So the same thing with year 3 now. We'll divide year 3 by 3. But 3 in present value terms is not 3. Instead, it will be 1.5, whatever the present value of, or whatever the annuity or the annuity factor of year 3 is, and so on and so forth. So that we can compare them, we can have a relative basis. So we're really comparing it for 1 year. What would it be if it were in 1 year? So since the value is 43,641, if we divide it by 2, or if we divide it by 1.736, we will get what it will be for 1 year in present value terms. So now we can now compare 4,000 with the 25,000 and say which one is better. So we're now comparing them in like term manner. Is this fine?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to year 3 now. So for year 3, we do this quickly. So we have year 0, year 1, and year 2, and year 3. Then our purchase cost remains the same. So minus 50,000. Then our maintenance cost for the first year is how much?
16,000.
Maintenance 3,000.
So 3, 7, and 16, Abi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So minus 3,000. You said minus 7,000.
3,000 is year 1, not year 0, Brian.
So 3,000 year 1. Oh, sorry. I'm always doing that thing. So minus 7,000. So this is minus 3,000. And then in the third year is minus what?
16.
So 16,000. So we have those 3 years. And then our scrap value will be what?
18,000.
18,000.
So I like the fact that this is very impressive. Our scrap value will be
13.
Will be 13,000. So our scrap will be 13,000 in the final year. Okay, Gertrude, that's the point I was making when you were saying you will subtract it. So you see now, for the first time, our maintenance cost is actually higher than the scrap. So I'm glad about this question. So you see that it might actually go higher. That doesn't mean anything. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. All right, so our net cash flows now. Our net cash flows will be equal to the sum of all the years all the cash flows in the year. So we can get it for every year. And then we can do our discount factor. So our discount factor 0.909, 0.826, and 0.751. Okay, so I don't know whether we have time for me to make a few, I wanted to call them jokes, but not jokes as much as very important comment or very unimportant comments. Things that they don't really change anything. However, if we want to do, so let me come and put this here before I say what I'm saying. So we can come here and do our cash flows. Okay, let me copy this thing. I want them to be together. There's enough space there. So let me bring this one up. Okay, so we'll just manage that. Now, so we can have so what's our annuity for 3 years?
2.487.
And please, permit me, let me humor you a bit, just slightly. Can you realize that, I'm coming, can you realize that adding all your discount factors, all your present value factors will give you your annuity factor? Have you ever thought about that? Do you understand what I'm saying? Or do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
No.
Yeah, true.
Your annuity factor is the summation of all your present value factors. Let me show you what I mean. So let me say this is equal to sum. Let me just calculate it there. If I get the sum of all these present value factors these years and close it,
Okay.
It will give you
it will give me
the annuity
okay, the year one is
factor.
supposed to be excluded. Yeah, the year one is not there. Because as in year zero is a year zero, so year zero is not part of it.
And you put from year 1 to 3.
Instead of from year, it's not supposed to be from year 1.
No, I added the whole year 1, year 2, year 3.
No, but year one is not supposed to be there. It's just year zero, year one exactly from year, sorry, year zero is not supposed to be there.
And that's what I'm saying. I said from year 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. So you see that that gives you the same factor that you called, right? Except maybe rounding error. Rounding error might make you have.
The rounding make you give you instead of 487, I got 486.
Yes, so it's just rounding that will cause that difference. But I just want you to keep that one somewhere. It's not important. It will not help you, but just something to keep. Okay. So now, we have our annuity factor. We have our present value of cash flows now will be equal to the sum of all of my present value of cash flows. I close, I get that figure. So I have my annuity factor. So that this implies now that I can calculate my equivalent annual cost, and that my equivalent annual cost will be equal to the difference as in the quotient of these figures. So this divided by that gives me my equivalent annual cost. Is this fine?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can now do year 4. So for year 4, we have the same thing. So we start with minus 50,000. Then our year 1 cash flow, sorry. So in year 1, we have minus 3,000. We have minus 7,000. We have minus 16,000. And what's the last year?
The last year is,
I think it's minus
18,000. 18,000.
18,000. Okay, then our maintenance now. Okay, that's our maintenance.
That's the maintenance.
Oh, sorry, I put this thing wrongly. Okay, then our scrap value now. Our scrap is what?
Our scrap is 10,000.
So in the last year it's 10,000. So it's only the last year own we need. Please remember that I'm very glad, but I hope everybody is clear about that. It's only the last year's own we'll take. Under the heat of battle, I hope you remember that clearly. So now our net cash flows. Okay, that was why now. So our net cash flows now will be equal to the sum of all those cells so we have that for that. We have that for every year. Then our discount factor now.
$3.170. Sorry, that's a new.
Let's still test that our thing used to work. Oh, where did I put this one? Okay, so our present value now So we can get it for all the years. And then so we can round up that our equivalent annual cost. So first of all, what's our annuity factor?
3.170.
I've been working with no decimals, so if you put decimals here, won't it be very...
You said what?
We have been working with no decimal places, 0 decimal places. So this one, I think you should format the cell.
Okay, so I can go ahead and do that. So no decimal place. Okay, so our sum of cash flows all these cash flows so that we can have our annuity factor now is what?
3.170.
170.
So 3.170.
Yeah.
Oh, now tough.
So this implies now that our equivalent annual cost, so equivalent annual cost will be equal to that figure divided by that figure. So it gives us that. So our question now will be, which year pays us most? Which is how many years, after how many replacements, what will be the replacement cycle for this asset?
4 years.
4 years, because 4 years gives us the least equivalent annual cost, right?
Yeah.
So we can conclude so we can say, therefore, the company should replace the assets after 4 years because this gives the least equivalent annual cost of that amount. Is this clear to everybody?
Yeah, square.
The brand is the summation of your PV, correct?
Is the solution of what?
PV for the 4th year.
Is somehow.
For the 4th year.
Figure.
Yeah. Maybe you should do it again.
For
The
which one? For which
the
one?
summation PVs.
This PV, Abi?
Yeah. Check it again, please.
Except I made a mistake in.
Yeah, your PV for the 3rd year is correct. It's not. I don't think it's correct too.
It's the 4th year, I think. No, 3rd year. I think.
The 3rd year. The 3rd year is not correct too.
No, the 3rd year is correct.
What's wrong about it? It's 16,000 now. It's not 16,000.
Yeah, 16,000. Oh, this means I made a mistake.
It was 16,000, and then the other year is 18,000.
Yeah.
And then scrap was 10,000.
Yeah, it's all right. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Then the other one was 13,000. Yeah, it's correct. Everything is correct.
Yeah, it's correct, sir.
Okay. All right. So we choose the third year, or the fourth year rather, because the fourth year is the one that gives us the best alternative. Is this clear?
Okay.
Which year do you say we're choosing?
Fourth year, year four. Year four gives us the lowest equivalent annual cost. So we want to minimize our cost. So since year four is minimizing our cost, that would be our best alternative.
So, Brian, with this, does this show that the longer the period to replacement, the better?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just unfortunate that my numbers did not go very well. In many cases, I would prefer it to be 1 year in the middle, not year one and not year four. It doesn't have anything to do. It's just the numbers. I could have done the numbers in a way where the numbers. So it doesn't have anything to do with length.
Okay.
It's just
It's just a coincidence that it happened like this today.
That it was reducing every year.
Okay. So there are times that it's not like that.
What?
You sir?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Richard, I didn't hear you.
I said, so it means there's it could happen that if the figures are twisted in a different way, there could be a year.
Yeah, of course.
Could be higher or lower.
Many times the figures would just be different, and then you have to choose the one that gives you the lowest.
Okay, that's fine.
Madam Faith, you were asking something.
Yeah, okay, what if we eventually get a positive equivalent annual cost? That now a benefit.
That will now be an equivalent annual benefit if the figure was positive.
Okay, then if it's a positive, do we accept or do we choose?
We want to take the one that is the highest. The one that is the highest to be the most beneficial if it were an equivalent annual benefit.
Okay.
Then is it possible to have maybe all negatives and then one positive? That's one benefit. And then
no, it's not possible.
It's not possible.
If we are benefit, it will be benefit. If we are cost, it will be cost.
Okay.
All right. Do have a great evening.
Thank you,
Mr. Brand.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Mr. Brand.
Yes, ma'am.
I need to save your screens, if you don't mind. The one you did on Word. And then so
because I also plan to send this to the group.
Yeah, but please, this one is important too. There's a way you can scroll down. We just want to save also the one.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said I should scroll up first, Abby?
Yes, please. Let me take you.
Is it up or down?
Bye.
All right, bye.